The one prayer that changes a soul's destiny. Edgar Cayce's forgotten secret. Before the prayer itself can be understood, you must meet the man who first revealed its secret. The quiet, humble soul who slipped into sleep and awoke in the mind of eternity. Edgar Cayce. He was not a preacher, not a philosopher by design. He was a simple man from Kentucky, a man of prayer and compassion, who discovered that when he closed his eyes and entered deep trance, something greater spoke through him, a consciousness that seemed to know all things. In that state, he would describe the unseen realms of the soul, the blueprints of the body, and the laws that bind thought, energy, and destiny. Thousands came to him for healing and guidance, and always, beneath the details of health, karma, or reincarnation, there was one refrain: keep yourself attuned. Attunement, Cayce's word for the soul's resonance with divine order. He said that true prayer is not a plea sent outward, but a frequency the soul rises to. It is like tuning a musical instrument. The prayer does not beg the strings of heaven to move. It brings your own vibration into harmony with them. Imagine this. Each soul emits a tone, subtle yet real, and the closer it is to divine love, the more radiant its sound. When fear, guilt, or doubt overtake you, the tone falters. But when you return to faith, simple, humble, surrendered, the sound clears again. Cayce said, prayer is attunement of the mental and spiritual self to the Creator. It's not a transaction, it's communion, not asking for light, but becoming it. And so, when he spoke of the one prayer that changes a soul's destiny, he wasn't offering a formula. He was pointing toward a vibration, a way of aligning the personal will with the universal will. It begins with a sentence so simple it could be overlooked, but within it lies a secret so profound that the entire architecture of karma bends to it. That prayer is not my will, but thine, O Lord, be done in me and through me. And yet, what does it really mean to live those words? To answer that, we must step deeper into the heart of surrender itself. This is where the mystery unfolds. You've prayed before, perhaps in moments of desperation, in loneliness, in gratitude. But what if every prayer you've ever spoken has been preparing you for one single realization? That true prayer isn't about changing your life, but about changing your alignment within it. Cayce described prayer as vibration, an energy that shapes matter, emotion, and even time. When you speak from fear, your prayer resonates in fear's frequency. When you speak from trust, it resonates in the rhythm of creation. The one prayer, not my will but thine, is not surrender in the ordinary sense. It is union. It is the soul recognizing that it was never separate from divine will to begin with. Most people fear surrender because they think it means losing control. But in the spiritual dimension Cayce described, surrender is how control returns to its rightful place, within the divine order. You do not give your power away, you give it back to its source. Imagine a river trying to decide which way to flow. It thrashes, struggles, splashes against its banks, until at last it realizes it is the current. The prayer of surrender is that moment of realization. When you speak those words sincerely, not my will, but thine, you're not canceling your desires, you're tuning them. You're bringing your will into resonance with the pattern your soul designed before birth, the pattern stored in the unseen geometry of your being. This is why Cayce said this prayer rewrites destiny, not because the universe changes its laws for you, but because you change your vibration to align with those laws. And once you do, everything around you begins to rearrange itself in harmony. Your body, your relationships, your timing, your opportunities, even your so-called mistakes begin to reveal meaning. This is the core mystery. That destiny is not fixed, it's fluid. The higher your alignment, the more gracefully it flows. The one prayer is the tuning key, turning you from discord into harmony. But before a soul can reach that harmony, it must face its dissonance. It must walk to the threshold where choice becomes transformation. That is where we go next. Imagine sitting in quiet prayer, not asking for anything, not pleading, not listing what you hope life might fix, but simply breathing, listening, feeling the pulse behind existence itself. This is where the mystery begins. Most prayers rise from a place of need. We ask for relief, for healing, for guidance. Yet the kind of prayer Edgar Cayce spoke of moves differently. It rises from the still center of the soul. It does not seek to alter outer circumstance, but to realign the inner compass. According to Cayce's vision, every soul carries its own pattern, like a note in a cosmic chord. When that note falls out of tune, we feel it as discord, pain, confusion, restlessness. The prayer of alignment is the act of tuning back to the harmony of creation itself. And so, the one prayer is deceptively simple. Not my will, but thine, O Lord, be done in me and through me. It is the soul's way of remembering its original sound. It is surrender not as defeat, but as the highest form of participation. Think of a leaf floating on water. It doesn't command the river to change its course. It learns to move with it, to trust the unseen intelligence guiding its flow. In that trust, there is no loss of direction, only deeper rhythm. Cayce described this prayer as a bridge between your human desire and your divine design. It doesn't erase your individuality, it refines it. It transforms the fragmented will into a vessel of coherence. Each time you whisper it, you reshape the invisible geometry of your life. Your choices, emotions, even your timing begin to harmonize with a greater field. The chaos that once seemed random begins to show its hidden order. It is the point where destiny and devotion meet. So, when you speak these words, slowly, reverently, imagine them as a soft turning of the heart, a quiet reorientation of your entire being toward the source. You are not surrendering your will, you are aligning it. You are not giving up your path, you are remembering the map your soul drew long before birth. And when that remembrance awakens, your life begins to change, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Yet before that alignment can truly take hold, every discordant note must first be heard. Every hidden part of you must rise into the light. That is the beginning of the threshold. 3. Threshold. The soul before the turning. Approx. 450 words. There is a moment, perhaps you have felt it, when the old way no longer works. The prayers that once brought comfort now return to you as silence. You find yourself standing in a kind of sacred ache, where nothing seems wrong, but nothing feels fully right. This is the threshold. Cayce described it as the soul's preparation chamber, where your awareness begins to outgrow its old forms. The mind, accustomed to controlling outcomes, feels lost. The heart, tired from striving, longs for rest. And underneath both, the soul whispers, there is another way. This threshold is not punishment, it is invitation. It appears when your deeper purpose starts to stir. It is the space between effort and surrender, where the ego loosens its grip and something higher begins to take the reins. Often it arrives through difficulty. A relationship ends, a dream collapses, a loss opens a silence you cannot fill. The world you knew begins to dissolve, and you realize you're being stripped of illusion. Do not fear this. Every soul that awakens must pass through its night. The purpose of darkness is not to destroy you, but to reveal the stars that have always been hidden within. This is where the one prayer begins to breathe within you. It rises like a small flame in the center of your chest. Not my will, but thine. At first, the words feel foreign, as though you are giving up everything. But slowly, they begin to feel like home. You start to notice moments of calm amid the confusion. Synchronicities flicker. Dreams grow vivid. The universe seems to whisper reassurance, though it says nothing at all. This is the turning point, the place where surrender begins to feel like strength. The more you trust, the more life reorganizes itself around that trust. The more you soften, the more clearly you can see. At the threshold, destiny waits for your consent. And once you give it, you step through the gate of transformation. Beyond this gate, something extraordinary begins. The soul starts to see its own reflection in everything it encounters. And that reflection becomes the first great teacher. 4. First passage. Mirrors of the self. Approx. 400 words. Everything around you is a mirror. The faces you love, the challenges you resist, the moments that wound you. Each one is a reflection of what the soul still seeks to understand. According to Cayce's readings, the world of form is a classroom of consciousness. You do not meet people by accident. Every encounter reveals either harmony or resistance, showing you where your vibration stands in relation to love. When you begin living the one prayer, these mirrors intensify. Situations repeat. Old patterns resurface. It can feel as though life is testing you, but it is not judgment, it is refinement. Each mirror gives you a chance to choose again. Fear or faith, resentment or compassion, self-defense or surrender. And each time you choose love, the reflection changes. Cayce often said that no soul ever suffers without purpose. Suffering is the echo of misalignment, seeking correction. The universe does not punish, it educates. Through these mirrored lessons, you begin to see how every pain was secretly guiding you toward wholeness. Take a moment now to visualize standing before a great mirror of light. See your life reflected there, your joys, your losses, your hidden griefs. Watch as the light within the mirror begins to soften each image, dissolving judgment, leaving only understanding. This is the miracle of the prayer's first passage. It does not remove your challenges. It reveals their meaning. It shows that you were never broken, only learning. And as that realization deepens, the soul's perception begins to change. You start to notice subtle signs, glimmers of guidance that appear in unexpected ways, a dream that feels like a message, a stranger's words that arrive at the perfect moment, an inner warmth that says, "Keep going." These are not coincidences, they are signals from the unseen, proof that the prayer has been heard. And so the journey continues as the soul, newly aware of its mirrors, begins to follow the whispers of the divine. There comes a moment in every seeker's path when prayer begins to change its shape. It no longer feels like words sent upward to a distant sky. It becomes quieter, deeper, more like a vibration, rising from within your very being. According to Edgar Cayce, the most powerful prayer is not for things to happen, but for alignment to occur. It is not the act of pleading with the heavens, but of tuning your soul to the current that already flows from the divine. Cayce often said that true prayer is attunement, a process of harmonizing the self with the universal mind. He described it as an act of remembering who you already are beneath all confusion, fear, and striving. When you truly pray, you are not trying to reach God. You are remembering that you have never been apart. And within that remembrance lies a single, ancient phrase, a prayer so simple, yet so complete, that it contains within it the entire architecture of awakening. Not my will, but thine. O Lord, be done in me and through me. These words are not about surrender as defeat. They are about surrender as transformation. They represent the moment when the human will, tired from struggling against the current of life, learns to float. It is the soul's quiet agreement to become an instrument of something greater. Imagine your inner being as a finely tuned harp. When the mind is restless, the strings tighten, the notes distort. But when you whisper this prayer, it's as if a gentle hand moves across the chords, loosening tension, restoring tone, allowing your life to resonate again with divine rhythm. Prayer, then, is not a request for change. It is a state of being changed. It is the vibration of willingness. The willingness to let the light within you guide the next step, even when you cannot see the path ahead. When you speak those words, not my will but thine, you invite an invisible order to unfold. You step out of resistance and into flow. You stop trying to control destiny and begin to cooperate with it. And slowly, without effort, life begins to rearrange itself around that inner alignment. The right people arrive, old patterns dissolve, synchronicities flicker like candlelight along your way. This is the core mystery Cayce pointed to, that prayer is not words carried into the air, but frequencies carried into creation. And when your inner frequency matches the tone of divine will, creation itself begins to sing back to you. Before awakening comes, you must pass through reflection. It is not a punishment. It is the soul's way of seeing itself clearly again. Life begins to hold up mirrors in every direction, in your relationships, in your work, in your own quiet thoughts. Each reflection whispers the same message. Look closer. Edgar Cayce spoke often of this passage, describing how the spirit must confront what it has created, not to judge it, but to understand it. Every action, every thought, every emotion is energy given shape, and when the soul is ready to rise higher, those shapes return for review. At first, it can feel unsettling. The people around you begin to behave differently. Patterns repeat until you finally notice the thread connecting them. The same emotional lessons arrive wearing new faces, new names, new years, and if you pause long enough, you begin to see life is not happening to you. It is happening for you. Imagine standing before a great mirror, one that does not show your face, but your energy, the vibration of your choices, the colors of your intentions. Some areas shine with golden light. Others are clouded, dimmed by pain you never allowed yourself to feel. This is the first passage, the mirror of self. Here, the only way forward is honesty, not the kind that condemns, but the kind that liberates. You begin to understand that the shadows you resisted were never enemies. They were simply unintegrated fragments of light. Breathe into that realization. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. When you stop judging what you see, the mirror changes, the distortions fade, the light steadies, and in that clarity, a subtle warmth arises, the quiet presence of something ancient and loving watching through your eyes. Cayce called this the higher self, the part of you that never sleeps, never condemns, and never forgets your true name. It watches your life like a teacher who knows every test is only a lesson in disguise. And as you face yourself, something extraordinary begins to happen. Forgiveness. Not the kind you force, but the kind that emerges naturally when you realize there was never anything to prove. Forgiveness softens the edges of the mirror. Compassion dissolves resistance. And slowly, the reflection becomes radiant again. Not perfect, but true. You have entered the first passage. You are beginning to remember. But the path does not end here. The soul will soon be met by guidance, signs, symbols, and unseen hands that begin to help you walk in harmony with your purpose. And that is where we go next, into the realm of guidance. There is a sacred moment on every path of awakening, when life stops being random and begins to feel intentional. When every event, every encounter, every ache in the heart seems to whisper, "Look deeper." This is the first passage, the stage Cayce described as the mirrors of the self. You begin to see that nothing in your world is separate from you. Your relationships reflect your hidden emotions. Your challenges echo your unhealed beliefs. Even the obstacles in your way are silent teachers, showing where love still struggles to flow freely through you. When you first speak the prayer, "Not my will, but thine, O Lord, be done in me and through me," you are, perhaps unknowingly, polishing these mirrors. The light of divine intention begins to pour through your life, illuminating every corner that has been left in shadow. At first, it can feel uncomfortable. Old wounds rise from their silence. Conflicts intensify, not as punishment, but as light, pressing against walls that were never meant to remain. You may wonder why things seem to fall apart just as you began to pray for peace. But this is not destruction. This is revelation. The mirrors are not here to judge you. They are here to show you. Every pain, every disappointment, every moment of resistance is life's way of saying, "Here, here is where your soul is ready to grow." Cayce often reminded seekers that suffering is not a sign of divine displeasure, but a signal that energy is trying to realign. The discomfort is the soul's way of stretching toward the light. So breathe. When you meet a difficult person, a sudden loss, a quiet grief, pause and whisper inwardly, "This too is part of my becoming." Imagine yourself standing before a great, shining mirror, not of glass, but of spirit. Each breath you take wipes away the dust of illusion. Each act of patience, each moment of forgiveness clears another layer. And as the surface grows clearer, you begin to recognize the reflection staring back at you, not as the broken, striving self you once believed yourself to be, but as something radiant, timeless, and whole. This is the secret of the first passage, to see without judgment, to let the mirror teach, and then to release. For in doing so, the prayer deepens, and your soul begins to vibrate closer to divine harmony. And yet, this is only the beginning, because once the mirrors have been polished, the guidance begins to appear, signs, synchronicities, and unseen hands that reveal the next step upon your path. In the next chapter, we'll enter that realm of quiet communication, where heaven whispers through everyday life, and you learn how to listen. When the mirrors of the self have been polished, even slightly, a stillness begins to form within you. Not an empty silence, but a charged, living quiet. It hums faintly, like a vibration that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. And in that stillness, something begins to answer. The universe responds, not in thunder nor in fire, but in whispers, symbols, dreams, and quiet coincidences that seem to speak directly to the secret questions in your heart. This is what Edgar Cayce called the response from the unseen, a gentle echo of your new alignment, signs that your inner frequency has shifted and that higher guidance is beginning to find its way through the veil. You might first notice it in your dreams, a long-lost loved one visiting with serene eyes, a place that feels familiar, though you've never been there, a message wrapped in symbols that stir something ancient in you. Cayce often described dreams as letters from the soul, messages written in a language beyond words. They are not random. They are reflections of the dialogue between your conscious self and the deeper, eternal part of you that already knows the way. Then, in waking life, synchronicities begin to bloom, numbers repeating, words overheard that answer an unspoken thought, a song on the radio that seems to know what you needed to hear. At first, you question it, wondering if it's coincidence or imagination. But the more you pay attention, the more these signals begin to cluster around your awareness, as though life itself were conspiring to guide you forward. According to Cayce's vision, these signs are not just from external helpers or guides, but also from your higher self, the part of you forever connected to divine intelligence. It speaks in patterns, symbols, feelings. It does not demand belief. It invites recognition. Sometimes the guidance tests your sincerity. It comes softly, asking, "Will you trust what you feel?" It offers you a choice, a subtle redirection, a quiet nudge, and then waits to see whether your faith is rooted in fear or love. Every sign becomes a mirror of readiness. Every response from the unseen asks a simple question: are you listening? There is beauty in this dance of communication, between the visible and the invisible, between your prayer and the universe's reply. You start to sense that life is alive with conversation, that even silence has a voice, and that the more you align your thoughts with compassion and clarity, the more precise the guidance becomes. So breathe again. Feel how the world around you begins to shimmer differently when you choose to see through the eyes of the soul. Every coincidence, every dream, every moment of déjà vu is an echo, a reminder that you are being met halfway. For those who have lost someone dear, this passage often brings a delicate comfort. In the quiet hours of grief, you may sense a presence, a warmth near your heart, a whisper in the mind, a dream that feels too vivid to dismiss. Cayce said that love never ends at death. It only changes its form. And when you attune your heart to that frequency of love, you realize that the veil is not a wall, it is a window. Trust the subtle. Honor the small miracles. For these are not accidents, but the soul's way of speaking back to itself. And yet, this is not the final destination. Because when the guidance deepens, the soul begins to enter the higher realms, where these signals transform into direct communion. In the next chapter, we cross that invisible threshold to explore what Cayce called the halls of light, the dimension where the soul remembers its divine origin and begins to see what it truly is. Close your eyes for a moment and let your breath soften. Imagine yourself descending a staircase made of light, each step glowing faintly beneath your feet. The air feels ancient, still, alive with presence. You sense that you are not entering a place, but remembering something timeless that has always existed within you. This is not an external temple. It is the temple of your own soul, the hall of records within. Edgar Cayce once spoke of it as a dimension of consciousness, a sacred archive where every thought, every feeling, and every choice you have ever made is held in vibration. Nothing here is hidden, and nothing is condemned. Each action, whether guided by love or fear, is preserved not for judgment, but for understanding. It is here that the soul reads the story of its own becoming, written not in words, but in light. As you walk through this luminous hall, you notice the walls shimmer like living crystal. Images ripple across them. Familiar faces, forgotten dreams, moments that once broke you, and others that shaped you into who you are now. You realize that what you see around you is not memory in the ordinary sense. It is awareness, pure and immediate. You are standing inside the library of your own consciousness, and it is vast. The prayer you have been living, the prayer of surrender, has opened this inner door, not to grant you control over destiny, but to offer you understanding of its deeper pattern. Cayce taught that when you align your vibration through true prayer, you attune to higher dimensions of the self. You begin to resonate with the same current that flows through this inner hall, and wisdom begins to rise from within, like light moving through still water. In this space, your mistakes no longer appear as failures. They are transformed into lessons. You see that every time you fell, it was because you were learning what love was not. Every heart you hurt became a mirror, showing you where compassion had not yet taken root. And every doubt that darkened your faith was a necessary night, preparing you to recognize the sunrise when it came. From this vantage, nothing is wasted. Everything serves the awakening of the soul. You begin to feel a profound compassion for the self that once struggled, the self that acted from fear or ignorance. And in that compassion, you are set free. Revelation arrives without shame. Healing unfolds without blame. You begin to sense that evolution is not about becoming flawless. It is about remembering love in every form it takes, even in the forms that once frightened you. The light around you brightens, pulsing gently like a living heart. You may sense the quiet presence of guides nearby, teachers, companions, or perhaps higher aspects of your own being. They do not speak in language, yet you understand their message completely. All that you have lived was chosen for the sake of awakening. Even your deepest wounds were part of a map, guiding you toward wisdom and empathy. And so, as you walk through this radiant hall, you realize you are not a sinner seeking pardon, but a traveler retracing the path of your own evolution. Each lifetime was an attempt to love more fully, to serve more freely, to remember your connection to the source. The echoes of old choices begin to blend into harmony. The threads of your karma, once tangled and painful, now form a pattern. Sacred geometry woven by the hands of the divine. When at last the vision begins to fade, you feel yourself returning to the stillness of your body, yet something within has changed. You carry back a deep knowing. Life is not random. Every joy, every sorrow, every turn of fate is a note in the great symphony of your becoming. You are not at the mercy of chaos. You are part of a sacred design, one that unfolds with infinite patience and love. But this hall of records, as vast as it seems, is not the end of your journey. It is only a threshold, the place where memory turns into mission, where understanding begins to shape creation. Beyond it lies the realm where the soul, awakened to its purpose, learns to participate in divine creativity itself. And that, as you will soon see, is where the real transformation begins. There comes a moment, after leaving the Hall of Records, when you begin to feel the quiet pulse of continuity, a hum beneath the surface of your awareness. It is as if invisible threads begin to reveal themselves, stretching backward through time. They shimmer, faintly, woven through moments you thought were long forgotten. But now you understand. They were never gone. They were waiting for recognition. Cayce once said, "Thoughts are things, not metaphors, not ideas, actual things, woven of living vibration. Every thought you have ever held, every feeling you have released into the world, has shaped the field of energy that surrounds you. It is this subtle field, this lattice of intention, memory, and resonance that many call karma. But karma, as Cayce described, is not punishment. It is pattern. It is the creative echo of your own consciousness, returning to be understood, balanced, and transformed. When you begin to live the sacred prayer, "Not my will, but thine, O Lord, be done in me and through me," something extraordinary begins to happen within this web of energy. Your vibration shifts, and the old knots begin to loosen. The threads of fear that once tangled your choices start to unwind. The cords of guilt and resentment, which have bound you to repeated experiences, begin to dissolve in light. Imagine it now, as if you could see your soul's pattern from above. Threads of color weaving through time. Gold, where you've loved purely. Silver, where you've served selflessly. Crimson, where passion once burned. And shadows, where misunderstanding once took hold. But as the prayer continues to vibrate through your being, all of it begins to change. The prayer is not just words, it is a frequency. It moves through you like sacred music, rearranging the harmonies of your existence. You may begin to notice small changes first. Patterns that once trapped you in repetition, arguments, fears, self-doubt, begin to lose their gravity. Encounters that once felt like accidents now seem guided. The very texture of your life becomes softer, more fluid. What you used to call coincidence now feels like choreography. Cayce taught that true prayer does not erase karma, it transforms it. The energy that once created struggle becomes the same energy that creates wisdom. The pain that once broke you becomes the raw material for compassion. You begin to realize that you are not trying to escape the past, but to redeem it, to draw its hidden light into form. In this awareness, you may see that nothing you've lived was wasted. Every loss carried the seed of empathy. Every wound became a doorway to greater understanding. You are not just one lifetime moving forward. You are a symphony of lifetimes, all learning to sing the same song. The song of love remembered. The prayer continues to work quietly, like gentle hands reweaving torn fabric. Threads of light begin to braid themselves into new geometries, radiant mandalas of purpose and grace. These luminous designs extend beyond this single life. They ripple through the collective soul field, touching others whose hearts are tuned to the same divine chord. In time, you will see that the prayer was never only about your own transformation. It was about the restoration of harmony across lifetimes, across souls, across the one consciousness we all share. The moment you surrender your will to the divine, you begin to reweave the universe itself, one luminous thread at a time. And yet, there is another mystery waiting beyond this reweaving, a revelation that shows how the soul, once attuned to the higher pattern, begins not only to heal its past, but to create consciously with spirit. That is the next step of awakening, and it begins in the realm of light. There is a sacred paradox that few truly grasp until they have lived it. It is the paradox of surrender, that when you release control, you are not diminished, you are expanded. When you say, with full sincerity, "Thy will be done," you do not hand your destiny away. You awaken to its deeper design. In the quiet after prayer, something subtle begins to move within you. The vibration of resistance softens. The constant struggle to manage, fix, or force life into shape, begins to dissolve. You sense that there is an order, a luminous intelligence beneath every event, every meeting, every delay. You start to feel it guiding you, as though life itself has a hidden pulse that matches your own heartbeat. Edgar Cayce often spoke of free will as the greatest endowment of the soul, the very essence of what makes you divine. You are not a pawn in a cosmic play. You are a co-creator, endowed with the power to choose, to imagine, to act. Yet this freedom, when used without alignment, becomes tangled in confusion and fear. When used with love, it becomes the architecture of destiny. True surrender, Cayce explained, is not submission, it is synchronization. You do not lose yourself when you yield to divine will. You come into coherence with it. The fragmented pieces of your inner life, the doubts, the divided desires, the quiet ache for purpose, all begin to gather around a single, radiant center. In that moment, you feel the presence that has always been there, waiting to harmonize with your intent. Imagine standing before the great blueprint of your existence, a vast field of luminous pathways stretching in every direction. Each represents a possible timeline, a probability, a potential version of who you could become. Some paths shimmer with peace, others pulse with lessons not yet learned. When you say, "Thy will be done," you are not abandoning your freedom. You are choosing the highest possible route through that field. You are aligning your free will with the divine will, the pattern of greatest love, greatest truth, greatest coherence, and the universe responds, subtly at first, then unmistakably. The right people begin to appear. The obstacles that once felt immovable start to rearrange themselves. What you once called coincidence becomes the unfolding of a deeper orchestration. This is the alchemy of the prayer. It takes the raw energy of will and purifies it into purpose. It restores your agency through surrender. It reveals that freedom was never about control. It was about harmony. From this state of coherence, you begin to create a new probability timeline, not built on fear, but on resonance. You start to sense that your choices are no longer random ripples. They are deliberate notes in a cosmic symphony. Every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness, every decision rooted in love rewires the field around you. It's as though you are walking through a living design that reshapes itself with each breath of faith. And as this realization deepens, you begin to see destiny is not something given to you. It is something awakened within you. It is your soul's remembering of what it has always been capable of. Creation through love, direction through trust, power through peace. The soul's sovereignty is not rebellion against the divine. It is union with it. It is the moment when you finally understand that the hand that guides your path is the same hand that moves within your own heart. And yet, once this alignment is achieved, once the soul begins to walk as one with the rhythm of spirit, something even more profound unfolds, the awakening of light itself within your field. The next chapter reveals how this radiant coherence becomes creation, how the soul, now tuned to divine harmony, begins to generate worlds of light from within. There comes a moment when revelation must become rhythm, when what you've seen in the silence must be lived in the noise of the day. This is the crossing point between the inner temple and the outer world. It is here that the soul learns to walk awake. When you rise each morning, before thought gathers, before the day begins to claim you, pause, sit in the stillness, even for a minute. Let your breath remind you of the invisible rhythm that sustains all life. This is the moment to invoke the one prayer, not as a ritual of words, but as an act of remembrance. Thy will be done. Feel those 4 syllables move through you, not as surrender to fate, but as a gentle opening, an invitation for your higher pattern to lead the way. Edgar Cayce often said, "Keep the channel open daily." It was not just guidance for mystics or healers. It was the daily art of remaining transparent to the divine flow. To keep the channel open means to carry that prayer into every choice, every interaction, every pause between words. It means that even amid motion, you remember the still point inside. As you move through the day, moments will arise, moments when something tugs at your intuition, a decision to make, a conversation that feels charged, a fork in the unseen road. These are invitations to pause again, to breathe, to ask silently what aligns with peace. Because peace is the signature of truth. It is not always the easiest path, but it is always the clearest one. Emotion becomes your compass. When agitation stirs, it is not punishment. It is guidance. It signals misalignment, an echo asking you to realign with the deeper current. And when peace returns, even for a moment, it means you have stepped back into harmony with your own soul's design. This is how the prayer becomes practice, how thy will be done becomes lived, not spoken. It is not about constant control or perfection. It is about awareness, gentle and ongoing. You begin to notice that attunement is not a state you visit, but a vibration you inhabit. The more you return to it, the stronger it becomes, until even ordinary moments start to shimmer with presence. Imagine standing in a crowded place, yet feeling that invisible stillness within you, a quiet that listens more than it speaks. Imagine being in the middle of a challenge, yet sensing that calm thread holding everything together. This is living the attunement. This is how prayer reshapes the very texture of life. As the day closes, the same breath that opened the morning now gathers what has unfolded. You look back not with judgment, but with awareness. Where was I aligned? Where did I forget? And always the answer is met with gentleness, because every return is sacred. Every remembering rebuilds the bridge between the seen and unseen. Living the attunement is not a practice of doing. It is a practice of being. Each moment of remembrance reopens the channel. Each act of love reaffirms the design. And yet this integration is only the first step, for there comes another layer, the living radiance of this prayer when shared outward. What happens when your vibration of peace begins to awaken peace in others? That unfolding, the rippling out of light through human hearts, begins in the next chapter. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when prayer turns outward, when your heart, having touched the stillness within, begins to ache for another, a loved one who is struggling, a friend who has drifted away, someone who has crossed the veil, whose voice you can no longer hear, yet whose presence still lingers in your quiet hours. It is here that the one prayer deepens. No longer a request for personal peace, it becomes an offering, a bridge of light between souls, not to change another, not to fix or control them, but to align yourself with the divine pattern that already exists within them. Edgar Cayce spoke of this as seeing the Christ in each soul. It is not theology, it is vibration. When you hold another in prayer, you are not forcing your will upon them. You are remembering who they truly are beneath fear, beneath pain, beneath the forgetting that life brings. And as you remember, something invisible begins to move. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine someone you love, perhaps someone you miss. See them surrounded by the same golden light that holds you now. Not a light of demand or persuasion, but of deep understanding. This is the prayer that heals without speaking. The silent current that reaches across distance and time, whispering, "You are loved. You are safe. You are already whole." If grief still lives in your chest, let it. Grief is love that has changed its form. It does not need to be solved, only softened. When you pray from this tenderness, your sorrow becomes a sacred language, one that angels understand. In that vibration, there is no separation. The soul you grieve feels your love, not as words, but as light. According to Cayce's vision of the soul's continuity, no connection is ever truly broken. Those who have gone beyond the veil remain aware, not of our words, but of our essence. When you send them peace, it reaches them. When you forgive, it frees them. And when you bless them, it strengthens your own journey too. So the prayer expands from "Thy will be done in me" to "Thy will be done in all." This is the architecture of divine empathy, a radiance that asks nothing and gives everything. And as you let this light move through you, you begin to realize it is not you sending love. It is love itself, remembering its own reflection through your open heart. Stay here for a breath. Let someone's name rise quietly inside you. Offer them this light and then release it. No attachment, no expectation. Just the calm knowing that the soul never stands apart from the source. And as the echo of that prayer fades into stillness, you may feel something return, a peace that wasn't there before. That is the secret of the one prayer. Every time you give love away, it multiplies. Every time you bless another, you are blessed in turn. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a light appearing in the distance. Not a light that blinds, but one that draws you, gentle and unwavering. As you move closer, you begin to recognize the form within that radiance. It is you, yet not the you that walks through ordinary days. This is your higher self, luminous, serene, and fully attuned to the one prayer. Notice how it moves, not hurriedly, not with striving, but with quiet certainty. Every gesture flows naturally, every thought is aligned. There is a gentleness here, a patience that has transcended the cycles of struggle. You realize, in a slow awakening, that this self has always been calling you, waiting patiently for your readiness to hear. And yet this future self is not distant. It is not a figure removed from time or place. It is present, here and now, praying through you. Each intention you set, each breath you take, carries its echo. You are not meeting a stranger. You are remembering what has never been lost. Allow a sense of wholeness to rise within you. Destiny is not imposed upon you. It is remembered. Your higher self holds no judgment, no demand, only invitation. It asks you to step fully into alignment, to feel the coherence between what you hope for and what is already unfolding. Visualize this light merging with your own. The luminous being of your higher self begins to infuse your body, your mind, your heart. Its peace becomes your peace. Its quiet strength becomes your strength. You sense that every challenge you face is not a barrier, but a thread woven into the fabric of your growth. As you breathe, understand that this meeting is not a one-time event. It is a practice, a return, a continual remembering. You carry this self with you in every decision, every pause, every prayer. And in this way, your life is gently reoriented toward love, clarity, and alignment. Let this vision rest in your awareness for a few breaths. The future self you see is the you who has always been present, waiting for recognition. And as you open your eyes, carry forward the calm certainty that your soul is already whole, already radiant, and always moving toward the harmony of its own eternal design. Now, let yourself rest in a quiet moment. Feel the rhythm of your breath. Notice how each inhale and exhale carries not just air, but intention, presence, and awareness. You have traveled far within these inner landscapes, and now you arrive at the ultimate threshold, the place where all prayer, all seeking, and all striving dissolve into a single, luminous frequency. This frequency is love, not as a concept, not as an idea, not as something to be grasped or achieved. It is a vibration that permeates your being. As Edgar Cayce described, all true prayer returns to this one resonance. Knowledge may fade and power may diminish, but love remains. It is constant, unwavering, and boundless. Every thought, every feeling, every silent intention you have offered has led here to union with this timeless energy. Imagine it as a golden light, beginning at the center of your chest, radiating outward. With each beat of your heart, it expands, filling your body, your mind, your soul. It moves beyond boundaries, beyond past and future, reaching even the edges of your awareness. Here, all judgments fall away. All resistance softens. You feel the harmony of existence vibrating through every cell. Let your consciousness dwell here. Reflect on how every challenge you encountered, every echo of suffering or uncertainty, has been a teacher preparing you for this attunement. You are the student, the seeker, and now the vessel. Love is no longer something you must seek. It flows through you effortlessly. You are aligned with the great current of the universe, resonating with the same energy that animates stars, oceans, and every living being. As you breathe, feel the words of Cayce ripple gently through your awareness. Love is the law. Love is the prayer. Love is the healer. Let these words sink into the quiet spaces within. Let them remind you that union is the natural state of the soul, and that every intention, every act of compassion, every gentle thought has been leading you here. Sit for a few breaths in this luminous field. Feel the fullness, the quiet joy, the completion of the journey. Know that this vibration is not fleeting. It is your essence, your center, your guide. You have remembered the prayer, embodied the attunement, and returned to the source. Here, your heart is full, your mind is clear, and your soul is radiant. And now, you arrive at the final threshold of this journey. Feel the stillness that surrounds you, the quiet pulse beneath the surface of awareness. You have walked through mirrors, threads of lifetimes, whispers of guidance, and the luminous presence of your higher self. And here, in this sacred pause, you recognize the truth that has been quietly unfolding. One prayer, lived fully, can indeed transform the very course of a soul's destiny. Not because it bends the world to your will, but because it awakens the consciousness that moves through the world. Each thought, each intention, each gentle breath you take in alignment with this prayer reshapes the landscape of your inner being. Cayce taught that prayer is a living force, and when embraced with sincerity, it reverberates beyond the confines of time, sending ripples through every choice, every moment, every heartbeat. Imagine the one prayer now as a soft light within you. Let it rise from the center of your chest, filling your torso, your limbs, your mind. Feel it brushing against every shadow, dissolving resistance and leaving only clarity, presence, and love. Whisper it to yourself. Let the cadence of its words settle like a gentle mantra. Thy will, my alignment, the one love flowing through all. Repeat it, slowly, reverently, until it becomes not just words, but the rhythm of your own heart. And as you carry this prayer forward, know that it is yours to revisit, to breathe into every morning, every choice, every moment of doubt or uncertainty. It is your living compass, your alignment with the sacred current. Let it guide you gently, softly, without strain. Your soul has remembered its own voice, and this prayer is the echo that sustains it. Before this meditation fades, take a final breath. Hold the sensation of wholeness, of connection, of luminous presence. And as the screen of awareness softens, hear this gentle invitation. If this touched you, share it, so another soul may remember who they truly are. And know, in this quiet certainty, that you are eternal. You are the traveler. Your soul's journey begins now.